By making that mistake, you learn from it and then you move forward. And then next time something like that comes around, you just don't make the same mistake twice, you know?
Welcome to the Take the Plunge podcast. My name is Kirsty. I'll be your host today. So on today's episode, we have Conor. He is a songwriter and a multi-instrumentalist. He writes for a band called Wild Youth. They have multiple top 10 hits at radio and top 5 album charts. They have wowed crowds across the world in their barnstorming live performances on sellout tours at some of the best festival crowds. They've played shows alongside Mumford & Sons, The Script, and Al Horan, to name a few.
So, how are you? Welcome.
Thank you very much. Thank you for having me.
No worries, anytime. How's lockdown? Well, lockdown number 2. How's everything been?
Everything is okay. I actually had the coronavirus.
Oh, really?
I got it like 3-4 weeks ago. So yeah, there was a lot of staying at home and kind of going out of my mind. But it was okay, and now I'm okay again. It's gone. Had it.
Good.
I'm back to life.
Back to life, brilliant. Well, glad that you don't have it anymore.
Nice.
So basically, just obviously, you're a musician. Let's just go way back to the start. So when did you start doing music and writing?
I think when I was younger. I remember my brothers are all much older than me, and one of them was in college, I think, and I went down to visit him when I was like super, super young. I remember seeing one of his housemates playing the guitar, and I was like, that's so cool. So he started like teaching me guitar kind of briefly when I was down there. So yeah, like a long time ago, but only kind of properly. I think you go through stages where it's like all your friends are probably playing sports and it's not the coolest thing in the world to be playing music. So you go through stages where you play and then you stop playing, but then you realize that it actually is kind of cool to play music. So you then get back to it. So yeah, in a roundabout way of answering your question, probably really seriously like writing songs about 15 maybe.
Oh, really? So you've definitely been writing for a long time then to where you are now. So have you always been creating music with Wild Youth, or did you do individual stuff before you became part of a band?
Yeah, I was in obviously kind of younger bands growing up, and I used to write with that, and then I used to write, kind of did some work with some people, had some kind of cuts on some albums, and then wanted to set up my own band, and that was Wild Youth.
So did you put that together yourself, or was it just like a group of friends and you decided to come together?
It was me and Dave. Me and Dave have been friends for years and years, and it was kind of a thing where we used to always play together, and anytime we kind of like, even at a friends charity nights or something, we would get up and play songs. We used to always kind of get traction from people, but we never kind of took it seriously. And then one night I remember we just met and we were talking about it, and we thought we'd just give it a shot. And
yeah,
I was like, it was more a thing of, I think I wanted to write songs. I just wanted him to sing them because he had such a great voice. But then we kind of came around to just being like, we wouldn't do it without each other. So yeah, we ended up doing it together. And then we obviously met Callum and Ed and kind of just formed what became Wild Youth, which was great.
So at what point did you realise that music is something you want to do as a career rather than just a hobby?
I don't know, really. I think it's just something that like I knew. We're kind of young, you know, and our friends were like in college and stuff, but we were just writing songs, and then we put out a song. And I think when you kind of heard like all the kind of feelings that you feel for the first time, like hearing your song on the radio or putting a show on sale and seeing it sell out, or having people kind of maybe come up to you and be like, oh, I love your band, you know, those kind of initial feelings where you're like, oh god, maybe this could be something, or you know, this is kind of a cool feeling, where hearing your song on the radio or people sing it back at a show or selling out shows, you know, those kind of things. And I think the little tasters you kind of get of those things just makes you so driven and go, okay, I really want to give this a shot, you know, and make this my life.
So was there ever a point where you thought, oh, I'm going to do more of a traditional career rather than doing something I enjoy like music, or have you always just kind of just ended up just going into music from everything?
I'm sure definitely probably had days where I'm like on college websites seeing if they'll take a musician in or applying for jobs, but no, that's just normal with the kind of industry, and you have good days and bad days. But no, I don't think I've ever kind of been built for the traditional kind of job. So it's always kind of been all or nothing for me. And I love what I do, and thankfully I'm in a lucky enough position to be able to now call it my job.
Yeah, definitely. However, when you feel, because obviously with music it's quite difficult to pinpoint the start of your career, because especially when you do it when you're younger, it kind of feels like you just always done it. But from whatever point you feel like your career kind of started properly in the industry, how were the first 3 months of that? Were they quite rough or were they quite smooth sailing?
I think it's all such a buzz, like as I said, it's kind of the first time that so many things are happening. Like the first time you're hearing your song on the radio, or the first time you're putting a show on sale and, like selling out shows, or first time you're being asked to go on like a TV show, or first time. So it's all just a total whirlwind. You're totally broke and you've no money. And just because your song's been played on the radio, people suddenly think that you're set for life. But yeah, you're totally broke, but it's so much fun. It's such a buzz. It's like your first time kind of being on a tour bus and, having a tour manager and going around and playing shows with your best friends. And so it was, such a great time. It still is,
Yeah. Have you always kind of had like a team around you helping you get from kind of like an unknown band to where you are now, or did you do anything independently at all?
Yeah, we did so much independently.
Yeah.
Kind of everything at the start we did ourselves from like our first releases. It was only not that long ago that we kind of signed a deal. We had kind of done everything ourselves along with our manager, and we got a distributor, but we set up our own label and we kind of released everything through our own label and we did everything ourselves. And yeah, it was we kind of took that as far as we thought we could take that, and then we've partnered up now with a label in the UK, which is great, and they've been brilliant. So
would you say there was like any specific point in your career where you thought, okay, like I can actually do this full time now, like I don't actually need to end up in a traditional career, I can do music for as long as I'd like, really?
I don't know if you ever feel that with music, really. It's like this, but there's definitely, parts like signing like a publishing deal over here with Universal, and then signing a record deal, it gives you that kind of sense of, okay, cool, maybe I can actually make this my job, being a songwriter and being a musician. Yeah, so I suppose it's kind of those things, and it's not like that they kind of like nail it down and go, okay, great, now I've done that, I never have to get a traditional job, but it kind of go, oh, this is cool, I'm just like I'm a nobody from Dublin, but now I've done these kind of things like a publishing deal with a major publishing company like Universal, or a record deal and everything. And it's, that kind of gives you a sense of belief that maybe what you're doing is validated in a way. Yeah, it's more just validation, I think. And I think validation leads to confidence, and confidence then leads to like performance, and then also allows you kind of room to breathe, to kind of lock yourself away in studios and but still be able to pay your rent, but kind of to say that writing and being a musician is your full-time job.
I mean, it's pretty crazy. I mean, I suppose especially with lockdown, how that's kind of like shut down the whole music industry, I bet there are quite a lot of musicians that have kind of panicked and thought, well, am I going to have to, as they say, retrain and do something else?
Sure.
Would they rather be actually doing music because that's what they're meant to be doing?
Yeah, I know. That's the scary thing. And there's so many talented people I know that kind of have had to retrain, or kind of had to get just jobs where they can't be in the studio as much anymore, and it's a real shame, but hopefully everything just comes around soon. And
hopefully it all picks back up, and then we can actually get back to the music industry and live. And I mean, the best part of music is definitely live, so it'll be great when we can actually get that back. And
I know, I miss shows so much.
Was there any part like from your whole career where you thought, oh no, like this could go downhill, or this is like a really like kind of the scariest moment for you?
Yeah, like every day probably. No, I think there's times through what we're going through now, you're like, will we ever play a show again? It's like, will it ever go back to normal, where it's like people in a kind of room all kind of packed in together, and you kind of have fears and anxiety over the fact that like that you're like worried that might never come back. And anyone you meet is talking about how they're just giving you different pieces of information. Someone told me there wasn't going to be live shows till 2024. But then like someone told me there could be live shows by May, and it's like you're just getting all this different information. Yeah, I think this has been a very scary time for all musicians, and even like I think for us, it's like even putting out new music, it's such a great feeling. But we used to like play songs live before we put them out and gauge like from crowds, like different songs that people liked, or you would put a song out and then you would go and you would do shows and you would see crowds interaction with those songs, or singing the lyrics back, and you're like, oh, it's cool, the song's really connecting. Whereas now it's like you put it out and you kind of no gauge really, which is hard, so I think this has been a very scary time for all musicians, no matter how big or small you are.
Yeah, definitely. Would you say that is kind of completely altered the way that you now like release and distribute music at the moment, especially because I mean, like you say, usually you release, tour, and you can kind of see exactly how it's working with people. Has it changed it quite drastically?
Yeah, I think I'm a little less protective about what we release. I'm more just like, why wouldn't we? Like, if we have a song and it's there, I'm like, why wouldn't we put it out? You know what I mean? It's
Yeah.
like, I'm just kind of more free spirited in terms of like, just kind of, if the song's there and like we're proud of them, just put them out. Just keep putting them out all the time. Whereas before, I'd be like, oh no, I want to make sure it's perfect, you know?
Yeah.
Now I'm just a little bit less guarded.
I suppose now like social media kind of has to be like such a huge factor in getting your song out there rather than all the other aspects that you could use before. Would you say that like social media has helped a lot or any differently compared to usual, or is it just kind of the same, just minus the actual in-person interaction stuff?
Yeah, I think it's definitely helped. It's a way of keeping engaged and keeping in contact with people that follow your band or come to your shows, and being able to still talk to them and engage with them online has been a huge thing, because if we didn't have that, then we would just have no engagement with anyone, really, because like the people that you would normally see at your shows and after your shows or hang out with, you would just never see them, if we didn't have online, or if you weren't able to go live every now and then and chat to people. So yeah, it's been massively important.
Yeah, I suppose it's very now is like such a crucial time to actually make sure you're interacting with fans and kind of getting that personal bond that you would get at an actual gig that you're not getting at the moment. Have you guys done any of like the virtual gigs, or have you considered it, or like some people have been doing where they do gigs at a venue and then live stream it? Have you considered doing any of that?
Yeah, I think we've done some. We did some for charities, and to be honest, I think there's things like Niall has done his virtual gig. That was always incredible, and obviously raised a huge amount of money.
Yeah,
and I think they're great. I think for us, we just love playing for a crowd so much. It's very hard, but never say never. I'm kind of more so holding out hope that maybe things can get back to normal sooner rather than later.
Hopefully.
Yeah.
But I suppose it's kind of hard to kind of mimic the atmosphere that you get at an actual gig
It's
online.
impossible. It's impossible.
It's so
we totally, as a band, feed off a crowd, and we feed off energy, and that's where our whole life kind of performance comes from. So,
well, going back to like kind of everything you've been doing, is there anything you look back on and you think, oh, I wish I did that differently, or I waited, or anything like that?
Yeah, I'm sure there's lots of things, but like I think it's all about growing and learning, and learning from those mistakes and trying not to make them again. That's the most important thing. But I think there's no musician in the world, I don't think, that would turn around and tell you, because it's such an unknown world and there's kind of no structure to it.
Yeah.
And there's no right or wrong ever. So there's no musician in the world that would tell you that they haven't made a decision somewhere along their career that they don't look back on and go, I wish I didn't make that. But by making that mistake, you learn from it, and then you move forward. And then next time something like that comes around, you just don't make the same mistake twice,
Exactly. I suppose everything kind of happens for a reason, and any step that's taken kind of shapes how your career is today. So it's all great moves. So obviously, looking back on everything, you've done a lot. Like, you've done tours all over the shop. You've had so many great songs being released. Would you say there's any like specific highlight of your career for you that you look back and think, I'm really proud of that?
Honestly, kind of, I think through this lockdown, it's given so much time to look back on everything we've done as a band. I'm kind of super proud of everything that we've done. Sometimes when you're in the moment, you're always striving for more, and you don't ever take the time to sit back and assess kind of everything that you've done. And if we would have thought like a little band from Ireland, and we would have done tours around Europe, and we would have played the Albert Hall, we would have played our national stadium, Croke Park, sell out like shows in the Olympia, play the Three Arena in Ireland, and all these different things. Like this, one of our favorite festivals in Ireland, Electric Picnic, and we got to play the main stage last summer. Support artists, like you said, Mumford & Sons, The Script, Niall, Zara Larsson, all the Westlife, like all these different people. It's kind of nice in a way to have this time and reflect on everything that we have done, and just to be super proud of it all.
Obviously, like as you said, you've worked with a lot of really cool artists. Is there anybody that you haven't worked with that you look at and think, okay, that's a goal, I'd love to work with that person?
Yeah, Tyler, the Creator. Tame Impala. Yeah, there's so many. Honestly, the list. Yeah, and I love collaboration, and I love touring with other artists. So
yeah, definitely. I feel like collaboration is a huge key, especially, or I mean, in any industry that you're in, is so important to collaborate and kind of share your ideas with other people.
Absolutely.
So obviously you guys have been releasing like quite a few singles over lockdown and everything like that. Do you guys have anything more in the works that's coming out, or is it just everything out at the moment?
Yeah, no, we've a bunch of new music ready to go. We've got more singles lined up. We've an EP ready
Yeah.
to go, and currently I'm actually just outside the studio now. That's probably why you've been able to hear noise in and out. So it's back in writing more new stuff. So yeah,
Yeah.
it's just going to be until we can play shows. We're just going to constantly keep putting out new music.
Well, obviously you said you're in the studio right now writing. Do you have any like specific kind of technique or method when it comes to writing a song, or do things just like come to you randomly? You have to note it down. How do you go about that?
Honestly, it could be anything. It can be like I could be in a shop and I'm walking around with my phone and I'm singing in like as a voice memo that comes to my head and people think I'm crazy. Or it can be a song title, or it could be a lyric idea or a concept, or it could be absolutely nothing. And I could just go into the
Yeah.
studio and start playing the piano and just see what comes. There's kind of no real set way for me of how I write. It's kind of just naturally kind of letting things come. But always just trying to be inspired by anything and listening the whole time to cool things that people say, or just little things that maybe could be a title of a song that sparks an idea into life. Yeah, just kind of being like a sponge and absorbing everything, and then just trying to make the best music I can.
Yeah, so do you try and take kind of like different inspirations from like a range of different artists and people in your life?
Yeah, more
Or do
so
you kind of
people
do
in my
very unique?
life and conversation,
Yeah.
and just like, by sitting down with a friend and having a beer and just openly talking about something in your life, and you just have an open discussion, and suddenly someone could say something and that can totally spark an idea. Like there could
Yeah.
be a title of a song, or it could be anything.
See, I feel like everything can kind of spirals into one thing, and you can get so many creative ideas from just the simplest thing. So it's great, especially
Yeah.
just being able to sit down and just have like such a good conversation with somebody, and then you can kind of just get so much inspiration from it alone.
Yeah, it's
Which is
amazing.
great. So one last question that we do like to ask everybody is, do you have a big goal, like a place where obviously if everything doesn't go kind of not too well with corona or everything like that, if everything goes smooth sailing, is there a big goal or a place you'd love to see yourself in a year's time?
I would just hope that we can continue doing what we're doing and putting out music, and to have people that still want to come and see our shows and continue to tour, and in a year's time to still be able to call this our job. That's kind of year by year. I think we all consider ourselves very lucky that we get to do this and we get to call this our job. So that's kind of our goal for every year. It's just obviously to grow it, maybe go to places we've never been or play in places we've never played in, but to just continue to travel and play shows and tour and release music. That's our dream every year. And once we do that for the rest of our lives, we'll be very happy.
Yeah, that would be amazing. Do you have any like specific country or festival or something? Because obviously you guys have played quite a lot of festivals. Do you have anything like that specific that you're like, that's a big goal, I'd love to be at that point one day?
I think Glastonbury is kind of the one for everyone, isn't it? Or, Coachella, or like Rock in Rio. Yeah, there's so many. But yeah, I'd love to go to Asia, America, and obviously South America would be a real dream for me.
Yeah, would you say your like kind of main area at the moment is like all of the UK and everything like that?
Yeah.
Amazing. Well, thank you so much for coming on speaking to us today.
Absolute pleasure.
Do you want to let everybody know where they can find you and where they can hear all of your stuff?
Yeah, it's on all social media platforms and it's banned Wild Youth. So
Amazing. Thank you so much.
Well, thank you so much. Thank you for having me.